What happened? The 6 of the hostages went out a back exit.
Where are they? The Canadian ambassador's house.
You got Revolutionary Guards going door to door. These people die. They die badly. White House wants the 6 of them out.
What we like for this are bicycles.
Deliver the 6 bikes, provide them with maps.
Or you could just send in training wheels and meet them at the border with Gatorade.
It's gonna take a miracle to get them out.
Funny man, what are we watching?
I got an idea.
They're a Canadian film crew for a science fiction movie.
I fly into Tehran. We all fly out together as a film crew.
I need you to help me make a fake movie.
So you want to come to Hollywood and act like a big shot without actually doing anything?
Yeah.
You'll fit right in.
Co-host. Yo. I was telling Leon, I don't think Ben Affleck has a soul anymore.
Why'd you say that?
Because he sold it to the devil. Because this ain't the same Ben Affleck I know from years ago. He had to sell his soul to get this much talent, man.
This ain't Reindeer Games.
Yeah. that thing in there, that ain't Ben Affleck.
That ain't the Affleck.
What, hey, Ben Affleck? Ben Affleck, what about you, man? What's up with your voice? Are you really Korey? I'm expecting you to pull a mask off at some point.
Yeah, man.
I saw you pour yourself a bowl of Sugar Smacks. I think that frog went down your throat.
Man, I either have a demon possessed in my soul myself, or I have laryngitis.
No.
Or I was just so moved by this movie, I cannot stop crying about it.
You're still choked up.
I'm still choked up, if you will, yes.
It was really inappropriate how much he was screaming during the screening.
Yes!
I know.
Go, Argo, go!
I like that. No, you know what? You're going to have to excuse me for this review. I do have either laryngitis or strep throat. I hope you don't mind if I kissed you all on the cheek when you came in.
Fuck.
Either that or AIDS.
AIDS, damn, man.
I was told that was mandatory.
Yeah, I'm more worried about the blowjob you gave me in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Also mandatory.
Yeah, exactly. They're doing this review. You know, you can actually get me arrested for that, too. I should let you know about any disease I had before sexual activity. But you know something? I will just say that Ben Affleck is hands down one of my favorite directors right now.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
He's easily 3 for 3 at this point.
Well, I was going to say it's too bad that this movie sucks, man. No, you know, no. This film here, ever since I heard about the story behind it, I would just want to see it just to see how they would pull this story off.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Because this is a crazy story, and apparently, now, it's based on a true story, and like they always say, loosely based on a true story.
Yeah, which, you know, whenever I see that, I'm like, you know, at this point, I don't care. You already sold the material on me. Yeah. Just the fact that they have to go in and rescue 6 people by making a shitty sci-fi movie. I'm like, all right, I'm in. Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Salisbury.
Yeah.
Hello, Brian.
Speaking of shitty sci-fi.
yeah, you love that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I do. But so you're probably saying, all right, so Korey and the rest of you guys, what is it about this story that you like so much? What's so crazy about it?
Well, let me tell you.
Grovelly voice and everything. So in 1979, if you were old enough to remember, there was the Iran.
Leon?
Leon.
Only me.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything. I'm going to leave it alone.
Or young enough to use Google.
But yeah, I think Leon was about 59 at the time. And you remember, man, the Iran hostage crisis?
I do remember that.
You were there.
I remember how much that got talked about on TV and what a big deal it was.
Yeah.
It was weird for me to watch this and get, have the flashback back to that time and go like, wow, I forgot just what a huge fucking thing this was.
Was it as big as they portrayed it in this movie?
It was every bit as big as they portrayed it.
And it's amazing how we completely forgotten about it.
So many things happened since then, and things get downplayed. And I mean, what this led into was Reagan getting elected, and them going like, see, he did it. He brought the hostages back.
But see, that's the thing about this story. That there's a lot of stuff that people don't know about it.
Oh, yeah.
Again, I don't know how much is true and how much is not true, but there is a story here about 6 American diplomats in Tehran who were held hostage, and I mean, it's 6 people, and they don't know what to do. I mean, the government was
not quite.
Wait a minute.
No. There was tons of hostages.
Well, I'm saying for this particular story, we were going after 6 who were hiding out with the Canadian ambassador.
Yeah, they were hiding out, but they weren't hostages.
Yeah, they weren't hostages.
They weren't hostages.
Okay. Yeah,
They were
you're
hostages
right.
being held, but these weren't hostages.
Yeah, I'm
In
sorry. Yeah, yeah.
Iran, these 6 they got away.
No, they were hiding out in the Canadian ambassador's home, and in Tehran, and the Iran people about to break in there like zombies, and so the government. I mean, I guess because it was
Aim for the head.
Yeah, that doesn't stop them, man.
They're looking for. They paint those targets.
Yeah,
They don't care.
I don't know what's wrong with a zombie Iranian, a pissed off Iranian person apparently, but. I guess the government, they were just about to kind of write them off. They were like saying, well, hey, it's just 6. No, they didn't say that. It was just like, we don't really know what else to do.
Right.
And there was a CIA operative at the time who was good at getting people out of these situations, going after hostages and bringing them back home and whatnot. What's his name? Tony?
Antonio Mendez.
Antonio.
Antonio Mendez.
And
And was that guy Mexican? Did
Yeah,
they ever?
he was.
Because I'm like, Ben Affleck ain't Mexican.
It is funny how at the end of the movie they show you like the actors compared to the real people, and they all are like spot on, except for Ben Affleck.
except for Ben Affleck, yeah.
That doughy South Boston guy doesn't pass for Mexican.
Yeah, when they showed the guy who Ben Affleck played, Ben Affleck has like a beard. But when they showed the guy, Tony Mendez, he had like one of those big Sancho mustaches.
You talk about 2 complete opposite looking characters.
Yeah.
Where they really went out of their way to make these actors look like the 6 hostages, where they were spot on, uncanny.
Yeah,
Like you said,
but before you go too far, before you go too far into that, so they say, hey, help us out here. I mean, we got all kind of ideas. We want to send people in the back rows of bicycles, and he's just in there rolling his eyes like, look, man, this ain't gonna work. It's not until he gets home and he's watching TV and he starts watching Planet of the Apes that he calls up and says, let's get some monkeys to go over there and get them. No, he actually says, you know what? This is gonna sound weird, but these movies, they go on location, they shoot all over the world. Let's get a fake film crew together, a Canadian film crew, not an American film crew. And let's pretend like those 6 people that are there are part of that crew, and then we'll just say, hey, we're done here. Put them on a plane and just come on back.
Which is funny, because I thought when he was watching Planet of the Apes, he was going to get the idea to just send Charlton Heston in with a couple of rifles and fucking fix everything.
Please, at that point, they were trying to keep Charlton Heston from doing that on his own.
Yeah.
You damn dirty Iranians! Give them back to us! I think they would have done it too. Shit, get this white man out of here before he tears up this country. But yeah, and one of the things about the story, the reason why you wouldn't have heard about this is because this was classified for years up until the Clinton administration. Yeah, who Clinton said, hey, this is a good story. We got to tell everybody.
We got to make this shit into a movie.
I think he used it to get laid. He's like, let me tell you a little story about this time that we made a fake movie to get these hostages out.
And the funny thing is, it worked.
And Leon, that's what you said. Because I looked at Leon at the end of the movie, I was like, that's crazy. And he said, so crazy it worked. And it is.
And it did.
Yeah, one of the things about this movie, it is a political thriller, but they infuse it. I mean, it's a dramatic political thriller with a sense of humor. And I think that's what kind of makes these stories kind of rise above the average thriller.
It made it rise above, because there's so many times you'll see a movie like this. Even me looking at the trailer, I'm like, all right, I believe in Ben Affleck because how great his last 2 movies have been.
Yeah. But
for the most part, it looks like a lot of these political thrillers that aren't that thrilling. You just kind of go through the motions, you get a history lesson. But this is on the level of something like Charlie Wilson's War, where there's so much humor going on in it. But he does not drop the thriller, because I got to say, the last half of that movie, my stomach was in knots. I was just tense.
Oh, yeah. The tension of it, I mean, that's what really gets you. But the fact that, the humor of it, I was curious who the writers were, because I was wondering, like, did any of these guys write on Charlie Wilson? Because the humor was spot on as it was in the Charlie Wilson movie.
Yeah.
This stuff is witty, it's smart. I mean, and despite of how dry this material could be if you just get into the more political aspect of it, I mean, they're making it so broad for the audience to just be along the ride with it, you know? And I was like really floored by that.
Okay, you got 6 people hiding out in the town of what? 4 million people, all of whom chant death to America all the livelong day. You want to set up a movie in a week. You want to lie to Hollywood, a town where everybody lies for a living. Then you're going to sneak 007 over here into a country that wants CIA blood on their breakfast cereal, and you're going to walk the Brady Bunch out of the most watched city in the world.
Asked about 100 militia at the airport. That's right.
Right. Look, I got to tell you, we did suicide missions in the Army that had better odds than this.
I think the humor is reminiscent of Charlie Wilson's War, but honestly, I think it's as tense and as exciting as something like Spy Game. Like through the whole time, it's like you're worried that somebody's going to get caught, and there's like they establish the stakes around what's going on, so well that you're just like, I hope everyone doesn't die.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean everyone.
Yeah. And that's because they do such a great job of fleshing out those 6 characters. You really get the sense of what they're going through, like being behind pretty much enemy lines, and wondering when this guy comes in if they should trust him or not. And the way they portray that, especially with a few characters, the ones who are like, look, all I know is if we go along with this guy, we're going to get killed. And for a minute, you do kind of believe them. You're like, well, what would you do? I mean, especially when you have no choice, really.
Well, I'll tell you what makes it so scary. The reason why I was wondering if these people were going to die and not get out, because Iranians talk loud. I mean, that's what made it scary for me, because every time, look, it's tense enough being surrounded by, the thousands of people who hate Americans and want to kill them right there on the spot. But it's even more intense when they get mad about anything. One person takes a picture at some Iranian's, table.
As little shitty flea market stand.
Yeah. Little card table stand. And it ain't even like that. He comes out, and it immediately comes out. It's like, shit, y'all get the fuck out of here, man. These people mean business.
What's even worse is like everybody looks at you with their eyes bucked out and mad. They're all mad. They're all yelling at you, and they seem to have no grasp of the fact that you can't understand what they're saying. They just keep yelling anyway. Like, don't you get it? It's like, no, motherfucker. How would I know English? Do you speak it?
Well, the fact that they're hanging people in the goddamn city like goddamn Christmas ornaments doesn't help either. It's just like, there goes another guy who
deck the halls with political dissidents.
there goes another person.
But no, man, it is.
Why does Korey have no voice now?
I was just hoping I ran, man.
The only people that are going to understand this fucking review are Iranians.
They're going to be pissed off.
Yeah, I went through a McDonald's, made an order, and my voice is like this now. But no, it's the movie is it's in 2 parts, and that part that we're talking about, the actual thrills of getting these people out of Iran. That works. That is truly frightening. I mean, at any moment, there's a great balance of, and they do this. This movie, I have to give it credit for even the style that they shoot it in. It's shot very much like a movie from the 70s. And there's even some pacing in there near the end where they cut back and forth between them edging closer and closer to getting on their plane, and the police department or whoever is there is slowly discovering who these people are, because the whole time they've had to keep their identity secret. Now, that's the thriller part of it, and it works very well. The part where the humor comes in is when they try to set up this fake film called Argo.
Yeah,
which is where the title comes from,
and it becomes the Alan Arkin, John Goodman comedy show. But they're very effective at it. You follow these 2 guys trying to put this movie together, and they're hilarious.
Yeah, John Goodman is an effects artist. What's his name? Jason Chambers. John
It's John Chambers.
John Chambers and Alan Arkin is a producer. Lester Siegel, pretty much a kind of a has-been producer.
Right.
He's on his way to pick up a Lifetime Achievement Award, but along the way, everybody's like, you've washed up. You ain't nobody. You ain't shit no more.
Well, the attention to detail, especially like getting a sense of how Hollywood was back then, which they bring that into the film. If you're a film buff, they're going to make plenty of references to where you're going to be going, okay, I know what he's talking about. And that's what I loved about this movie, like Ben Affleck's attention to specific details
throughout the movie,
especially like just getting the sense of the time period where somebody was telling me, wow, they actually used a record in one scene that is so pristine, and a lot of people don't know that this record had 2 album covers, but one was like the correct one, where apparently in other movies they always use the wrong one. But it's like that attention is what kind of sells it.
It is so authentic to the 70s that they actually put shag carpeting on Ben Affleck's face. And I really respect that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and the casting was so close to everybody in the movie. Even the dead guy hanging from the crane screen.
Oh, I know.
He looked just like the original guy who was hanging in the middle of the city.
Which I'm sure that family's like, well, they got it right.
Wow, that's him.
It makes me wonder if, like, for the lead, if Ben Affleck, if he did a screen test with Luis Guzman and just went like, you know what, I'll just do it myself. Go home.
I know they could have had Bert from Bert and Ernie play his role, and it would have looked nothing like that fucking guy.
Yeah, but no, I will say, I don't know. I'm not gonna criticize Ben Affleck's acting because there's a lot of people in this movie, a lot of people, and I would say that the people that you're probably gonna walk away with remembering the most, the actors are going to be Alan Arkin and John Goodman. Ben Affleck is a little more reserved, a little more quiet, but some people probably say, well, his acting was just okay, but I'm gonna give him credit here and say that he was able to pull himself aside, let his main actors take it, and actually be effective as somebody who was very calculating and just very reserved. I liked him a lot in this movie.
I thought he was very effective. I totally believed everything he was doing, and yeah, it was smart for him to do that, to step back and not go like, I have to be the leading man, because the story, it's bigger than any one character in this movie. Yeah. I mean, even like some of those hostages, you know, besides Tate Donovan, but the two nerdy-looking guys, well, I guess they all kind of did. It's hard to pick them out, but even they stood out, even though I can't remember that name.
Well, yeah, and that understated performance really serves the character. I mean, he's not a character that would be, boisterous and flashy. He's a fucking extraction expert. Like, he's not the kind of guy that wants to be noticed everywhere he goes.
that would be detrimental to his job.
Exactly.
But I tell you where he really shines is his interaction between him and Bryan Cranston.
Oh, yeah.
Where those two working together, like just trying to figure out how to get this thing resolved, and their frustrations with dealing with all the departments that they have to go through to get things done. That that's where they bring on the spot on humor and just their relationship between each other. And I mean, every time those guys were on screen with each other, I was like, wow, Ben Affleck is acting his ass off.
Yeah, and it feels almost redundant to say this, but Bryan Cranston was great in the movie. Yeah, of course. I mean, he delivered a line that I still laugh at every time I think about it.
I remember that line. I don't want to say that line.
I don't want to say anything either.
Because people should remember, but Leon he laughed so hard that he started crying through the rest of the movie.
Because I didn't want to ruin the movie for other people when it was changing moves.
You do this thing sometimes though, where you laugh so hard at something. I get worried because I think you're being affected by the movie. And I realize you're just still laughing, but it sounds like you're crying because you will laugh so hard when that scene is done. You'll sit there and you go like. You bite your finger.
It was one of those uncontrollable laughs where, like, I can't let it go. Every time I think back to it, it's like I'm hearing it for the first time.
Do I need to go get this Negro some tissues or something? I mean, I can understand. I was worried about you, man. But it was a great line. I laughed out loud. I mean, that's something for a movie that is the caliber of this kind of thriller. It has some things in there. I'm like you, just had me just chuckling through the whole film. Even when they were gone, I just started thinking about it. One, I felt guilty for because there's a scene it's very interesting. It's almost sad. I mean, it really makes you very emotional. And this is kind of a complaint. I just wish they hadn't intertwined it with this other scene where, in order to get there are a lot of details that they have to do to make this whole scheme believable.
Oh, yeah.
That includes making a fake studio, getting fake actors who are involved in it, a fake producer, makeup artist, and getting a publication in Variety. And to do that, they have to hold a press conference where the cast is going to do a reading of the script. And it becomes apparent that they are doing one of the most horrible Star Wars ripoffs ever, and it's complete with
a blue Chewbacca,
a cheap ass C-3PO, old slutty ass looking Princess Leia, and a Chewbacca that looks like George Clinton from Parliament Funkadelic. I mean, he's all purple and hairy.
I like the Chinese Ming the Merciless that they got.
Yeah, that dude was actually black, I think.
Actually, the original title for Argo was Atomic Dog, so I don't know if people know that.
Coming down on the mothership, baby. And I was also wondering, why are you going to bring Chewbacca, even if it's a fake Chewbacca, to a script reading? Because what lines does he have? You know what? They put a script in front of him and everything. All he's going to say is,
okay. He was there. That was my time to sit next to you where I was like, hey, man, this is some important shit going on out here. And you sitting over there.
I want Chewbacca. Purple.
It's like that motherfucker trip into a septic tank with the blue water and shit.
I look like George Clinton. I'm trying to watch the movie. This is important shit.
He was still laughing during the beheading scene too, which is really inappropriate.
Shh, why are you laughing? I'm still thinking about that blue Chewbacca.
Hey, wouldn't it be funny, Leanna, if Jawa came up and scooped their heads up?
It was like Chewbacca was drinking Tiny Bowl.
No, you know, I listen. For what it's worth here, I mean, I think we can all go on a limb and say that this is going to be one of the highest Oscar contenders there. I mean, it pretty much just has one foot through the door and just saying, hey, look, you know, Oscar season has begun.
I'd like to think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what all these other motherfuckers are doing behind me, but I got it. Okay, just go ahead and give it to me now. Ben Affleck, please. Could you just wait, sir? but no, I love the movie, man, and I really do. I really do think that Ben Affleck has proven himself. We were talking about this earlier on the podcast. I don't know what happened in his life. I don't know if Matt Damon pulled him aside and slapped his ass around or what, but
maybe you know what? Maybe Matt Damon was the dead weight he needed to lose.
No, don't talk that way.
I think that thing was called Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, when she got that ass off of him, you know. The guy went away for a while. Kind of had this. I don't know what happened.
It's like a kung fu movie. He went off in the woods and he practiced with some bamboo and some trees.
He jumped off some limbs.
Found a film camera.
Instead of learning kung fu, he had like an old little Chinese man teaching him how to film.
I just imagine like P.T. Anderson with an 8-foot white beard. Oh, you've come to the right place.
That little man, was that Martin Scorsese?
He comes and slaps him on the head. What are you doing wrong? The lens cap is still on. Fool! Again! But no, you know, this guy is very talented. I mean, you have to give other people talent here, though. People that you never heard of. Obviously, this one was a very tight script. I was looking at the scriptwriter's name, Chris Terrio. I never heard of this guy before, but hey, you know, hats off to him. Hats off to a lot of people on the technical side. As I said, this movie, it's very authentic to a 70s film, and that is a big complaint of mine. What they did at the beginning of the movie, they start the movie with the old Warner Brothers logo.
I thought that was cool.
That was great.
I thought that was really cool.
Don't get me no. I'm not saying that was great. And then the movie, it opens up with it's a mixture of new footage and old footage, but it's all mixed together to look still like a period, and that period from the 70s. Now, in the middle of that, I thought it was clever, but I don't think it fit. They used storyboards to give you the history of Iran and how they got to that point with the leaders and whatnot, and the political coup d'etats and all that stuff took place. But the storyboards, while very cool, they're very modern, and they just don't seem to fit with the rest of the film.
I see what you're saying.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be accused of nitpicking anything.
That's not a nitpick, man.
I see what he's saying because like when you're looking at it, all it reminded me of was a comic book.
Sure.
But it kicked in suddenly that, these are storyboards. So within the context of the film, I understand what they're doing now, you know.
Yeah.
But at first, I mean, it did look very comic book.
I just thought the way it was, you know, the color swipes and whatnot, it's very computer generated in a movie that felt very authentic. I don't think that really needed that. It's very cool. It's very flashy. It almost felt like a decision where somebody said, you need something in here to kind of make this a little more modern and get the audiences interested at the beginning. It felt out of place. But
Leon, by the way, it is nitpicking. But
okay. Just so somebody can confirm that.
Oh, co-host, you gonna throw me under the bus like
Let me put on my porn stash so I can run the hell out of here into the city.
For anyone who doesn't speak Farsi, what Korey just said is Argo, fuck yourself.
Another great line from the movie.
Indeed.
I give this a very, very, very major full price. Love this movie.
Yeah. The thing is for Ben Affleck, like, this is such a triumph because he made 2 great movies before, but they were so like in the same universe, the same type of movie. So you could say like, well, maybe he's like a Tarantino or somebody who can only do one thing. And here he breaks out the show like, no, he's got a range. By his 3rd movie, he's already established he's got a range, an eye for detail. He knows how to get great performances out of actors, how to tell a story that can take you through so many emotions. Man, this guy's building up to like the guy to look for when his name is attached to something. And this movie works in just about every way. I mean, it's so much better than I expected it to. And I went in with high hopes. And it really took me back to that time. It's like, wow, I totally forgot what that was like. It was a great ride. And depending on what comes out later this year. I mean, everybody who's got their holiday or Oscar contender movie coming up, they better step up their game because this is there. It's a full price.
I would say that this is. I've seen some great movies, but I've seen most of those movies on the independent side. I mean, one that comes to mind is Beasts of the Southern Wild.
Sure.
But this is the first really big Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
You know, the one that they made that seems like a major Oscar contender. Brian Salisbury.
Well, yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this movie, and I continue to be impressed with Ben Affleck. I think this is a fantastic story, and the way it's told is perfect. And I love the subtle satire of like the Corman style filmmaking of the just like ride out the bullshit as long as you can until you have a movie. But in this case, it's like the end game was never to make a movie. But the one thing I am looking forward to is as Ben Affleck grows as a filmmaker, actually developing a visual style, because there's no real signature in this that you look at and you go, oh, well, that's a Ben Affleck movie, other than you might see Ben Affleck in it. But and the thing is, like, it's not really a fault. It's just something that as we go on, I'm interested to see now that he's kind of trusting himself as a storyteller, how he's going to start working with cinematographers to develop his own kind of visual signature. But yeah, I give this movie a very enthusiastic full price.
I'm right there with everything you guys said, especially you, Brian. I mean, you are right. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday about Ben Affleck, where I'm like, wow, I've only seen, this is the second movie I've seen. Apparently, I still need to see his first one, which apparently I've heard is nothing but great.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, he does need to find his kind of niche. Somebody was like saying, oh, I think he's a Martin Scorsese. And I was like, no, I wouldn't say that, because Martin Scorsese, when you see his movies, you know it's Martin Scorsese. You can't help it. But I think, like, with time, he is going to get his own style. But I have to give Guy all kinds of credit for having like a third movie come out and it to be so goddamn good. I can't think of a director who had a third movie that was still on par with the last two he did. But, you know, that goes a lot to his direction, his way of like just knowing how to work with actors. I mean, because like I said, when you're watching the movie, everyone is a character. You get a well-rounded idea of who all these people are. And I love the fact that he was able to juggle all these politics and not lose me. You know, a lot of times these movies will get so thick into it, you forget like what the hell's going on, what the point of the story is. And I'm glad that he touched on the very human aspect of the story, and it had me, you know, by my neck throughout the whole time. I mean, I felt like I was going to get fucking hung as soon as those motherfuckers looked at me. And I mean, man, you talk about a tense, fun ride. This is it. I applaud all those times I talk shit about Ben Affleck. I'm sorry, Ben. I'm fucking sorry. All right, but man, you are proving yourself every day. You are an awesome dude.
Every day.
Every day.
You look on the Ben Affleck report.
Yeah,
I did it again. Ben Affleck.
I'm on his Twitter.
You were doing so well too.
Jesus,
now tell me this: this movie, or did it not make you want to go, America? Fuck yeah!
No, it did not.
I'll tell you.
These guys want to say it.
I'll tell you who didn't say that. The fucking Canadians. As soon as the real story gets out, those guys didn't have shit to do with nothing. And you're like, wow, thanks, guys.
You guys said you would keep the secret. What's up?
I was on a streak too, Brian. You don't realize there were years ago, before I went to therapy for this, I used to say Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck?
yeah. I used to say Ben Affleck, and for a while I actually was able to say
like
Ben Affleck.
genuflect, but Ben Affleck. Yeah. Wait, would genuflect then be the couple name between him and Jennifer Lopez?
You really believe your little story is going to make a difference when there's a gun to our heads?
I think my little story is the only thing between you and a gun to your head.